Good evening and thanks for joining us. We begin with a big shakeup in political leadership in this country. Andrew Scheer has resigned as leader of the Conservative Party, and tonight an emergency caucus meeting was called in Ottawa to deal with the fallout. Scheer has been on shaky ground since the night of October 21st. That's when he lost the federal election to Justin Trudeau. Today, Scheer said the decision to quit was the most difficult one he's ever made.
In order to chart the course ahead, this party, this movement, needs someone who can give 100% to the efforts. And after some conversations with my kids, my loved ones, I felt it was time to put my family first.
He had tears in his eyes. There were standing ovations, even a hug from the Prime Minister, and a round of handshakes from his political opponents. For weeks, Scheer has resisted calls to resign. Today, it emerged the party has been paying the private school fees for his children, and that got lots of Tories demanding answers. Michael Couteur has details in our top story tonight.
Andrew Scheer has worked hard to project the image of himself as the typical Canadian family man, even as he resigned as Conservative Party leader.
This has been an incredible challenge for our family to keep up with the pace that is required to lead a caucus and a party into a general election. And my wife, Jill, has been absolutely heroic.
Hear, hear.
That may be true, but his family was getting some assistance from the Conservative Party, which was helping to pay the private school tuition for the 4 school-aged Scheer children.
That's false.
False? Like you've seen?
There's nothing that I've seen that indicates that that's true.
That's from one of Scheer's closest allies, but hours later, the executive director of the party confirmed a deal was brokered between Scheer and the party shortly after he was elected leader. Quote, I made the standard offer to cover costs associated with moving his family from Regina to Ottawa. This includes a differential in schooling costs between Regina and Ottawa. There were no rules broken, but the revelation shook some Conservatives.
We don't know who did what, who knew what, or Andrew's situation at all, what Andrew was told.
Conservative sources say the tuition story hastened Scheer's decision to step down, but the knives have been out for some time. Former Cabinet Minister John Baird has been taking the pulse of the party, trying to figure out what went wrong in the last election. And the feedback hasn't been good.
When you make the accumulation of bad decisions, at the end of the day, we lost confidence in Andrew Scheer, and the movement's growing.
And that movement could derail Scheer's plan to stay on as leader. There's a lot of pressure for him to step aside and allow someone else to be interim leader as the party starts the process of picking a permanent one. Donna?
Okay, Michael Couture, thanks. Our Ottawa Bureau Chief Mercedes Stephenson is with me now. Mercedes, what more do you know about how this issue of school fees emerged? And what about the internal report on the Tories' election loss, the one former MP John Baird was working on? What role did that play?
Well, Donna, that's one of the things that MPs wanted answers to, too, in an emergency caucus meeting that just wrapped up. Andrew Scheer managing to hold on as the leader, with Conservatives coming out and saying they were unanimous in him being able to stay there. But I can tell you a lot of caucus sources have told me that they think it's time for him to go. Now, if Andrew Scheer hadn't lost the election, Donna, we might not have ever heard about this. But with Conservatives angry about that result and doubting whether or not Scheer could deliver an election win next time, well, the dirty laundry starts to come out in public. Using the party funds, as he did, to pay for his private education of his children is not illegal, and it's not against the party rules. And it's also not uncommon for a leader like Andrew Scheer to get a top-up from the party. But the issue here is really optics. When there's a party running on an anti-elitist platform and the leader is living in a taxpayer-funded home and not paying a lot of the bills that the average Canadians would, and on top of that, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau's kids are in public school, it's not a good look for the Conservatives, and the reaction behind the scenes has been severe. A lot of members in caucus very angry about this. People on that powerful Conservative fund board who didn't know where the money was going, very angry about this. And all of that raises questions about Andrew Scheer's future. Now, he is staying on for the time being, as you mentioned, but there's still that report to come. John Baird, who you mentioned, the former cabinet minister who's writing it, he hasn't started actually writing that report yet. That's how many interviews there are going on. And I'm being told by sources sources that none of them have been going very well for Andrew Scheer. The report, when it comes out, will likely be quite damning, but it's still in the process of even being put together. But this coming out today, this story about the private school expenses, was really the final blow, a lot of sources say, to push Andrew Scheer out.
So Scheer stays on until a new leader is elected. Who wants the job and when will they get it?
Well, that's a great question. Who wants the job and when will they get it? We know more about that first one of who wants the job than the second one of where it may happen. Take a look at some of the contenders here, Donna. They're names that your viewers will recognize. Ronna Ambrose, she was the former interim party leader. Popular choice for many. She's a woman, she's progressive, she's smart, but she may not want the job. Peter MacKay, former cabinet minister, who skewered Scheer publicly for his election performance. Mark Mulrooney, son of former Prime Minister Brian Mulrooney. Sources say he's considering a run. Aaron O'Toole, who already ran for the leadership. He's an MP from the GTA and a red Tory who's seen as progressive. And finally, Pierre Poilievre and Michelle Rempel-Garner, two more MPs' names that are floating around out there as possibilities. Well, in the meantime, we can say one thing with certainty, and that is that the Liberals don't have too much to worry about, because the Conservatives are not going to be focused on bringing down the government when they have to find a new leader.
All right, Mercedes Stephenson in Ottawa, thanks.